Let's talk about the issue du jour, which is TikTok. I'm on it. My kids are on it.
Yep.
They still want to be on it.
Yep.
You're on the board of ByteDance.
Yes.
You've been watching this play out.
For a while.
What can you tell us about where things stand?
Well, first of all, we're very grateful that the president intervened over the weekend to keep TikTok available for our 170 million users in the United States and millions of small businesses who operate there. So that was great news. And now he's issued an executive order as of yesterday that you know about that because of 75 days to work a solution that meets the national security requirements of the United States, but allows TikTok to keep operating. And I can say this, that the company is prepared and ready to engage with the Trump administration, has been looking forward to the opportunity, actually, to basically find a solution that complies with the law and meets the security needs of the United States, but at the same time keeps TikTok available.
Do you believe there's a way to do that and not just comply with U.S. law, but comply with China? Because it sounds like the Chinese government has been the one saying, you know what, we're not letting this algorithm out of the country.
Well, the thing, let's just go back a step to what we did with Project Texas that I know you've talked about before, but data security, software security, algorithmic security. We've been working on that for a number of years. Actually, for 2 years, we've had our data, we've had our software in the Oracle Clean Cloud solution that has protected that data and protected the American user. So we've already taken steps, some of this initiated under the Trump administration the first time, to work in this direction. So I think we're very confident that we can, you know, with the real engagement with the administration, demonstrate.
But how much of that is about then persuading? I mean, and this becomes a real issue between Congress already putting the law into effect and the Supreme Court upholding it. It's less clear to me that TikTok just can say, you know what, we're doing it right. Let's just persuade you that what we've been doing the whole time is right. Yeah. Because effectively, the government already said that that's not enough.
Well, we've got to find a solution, and we're confident we can with the Trump administration that deals with the ownership issue, but also deals with the data and software security issue. And, you know, it's too soon to say exactly what that's going to be. We're waiting for Secretary Besson to be confirmed and Trump to assign a team to basically work on this project. But we're ready to engage.
I know Becky's got a question in Washington, but I do want to ask, there have been reports that potentially this could be sold to Elon Musk, that the Chinese government, or at least officials inside the Chinese government at some point were talking about potentially selling it to him, given his relationship with the Chinese and a comfort level and trust. Have you been engaged in any of those kind of conversations?
We have not. Our focus is finding a solution that allows TikTok to operate as a standalone business, as it has already. And we think there is a solution.
And how much, though, how much sway do you have over that versus the Chinese government, if you will? So if they were to say, I want to sell to Elon Musk, that could be a conversation that's happening separate from you?
Well, I think what they've also said, and I think it's actually in the statement this morning from the Chinese leadership, is that, you know, the private sector, company matters are company matters decided by the board. And I think they're, you know, yes, we have to engage with Chinese leaders and Chinese government and Chinese regulators, just like we have to engage with U.S. government and U.S. regulators to make sure that they're satisfied that a solution is workable. But at the end of the day, the board's got to decide, you know, what's the right answer for TikTok U.S., what's the right answer for TikTok Global, what's the right answer for ByteDance.
So you're not keeping it from, I mean, the understanding in the public is that effectively the Chinese government says it can't be sold into the United States. And that's the government position. You're saying the board's position is not that.
No, I'm saying that we think we can find a workable solution that keeps the Chinese leadership, Chinese regulators, and American regulators satisfied. And that's our job over the next 75 days, is to engage with the Trump administration in a way we have not been engaged for the last several years, to find this workable answer that really gets the Chinese comfortable, but also the U.S. government comfortable.
Becky's in Washington. She's been covering the inauguration.
Great.
Becky?
Hey, Bill, just to follow up on this, I'm actually looking at the law, the TikTok law right now, TikTok versus Merrick Garland. It says the act exempts a foreign adversary-controlled application from the prohibitions if the application undergoes a qualified divestiture. A qualified divestiture is one that the president determines will result in the application no longer being controlled by a foreign adversary. It would preclude the establishment or maintenance of any operational relationship between the United States operations of the application and any formerly affiliated entities that are controlled by a foreign adversary. I mean, in the law, it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of room for negotiation for TikTok to not be majority owned by a U.S. entity at this point, or to keep the situation the way it is. Do you anticipate that these negotiations with the Trump administration will include Congress revoking that law that has not only been signed into law but also upheld by the Supreme Court?
Well, Becky, great question, but let's go up to the top at ByteDance. 60% of ByteDance is controlled by non-Chinese shareholders, or invested in by non-Chinese shareholders. So global investors, many brand name global investors, are major shareholders of ByteDance and, in effect, shareholders of TikTok. So the starting point is that there's ways to affect control. There's ways to affect ownership that doesn't necessarily involve a sale of the company. And I think we understand we've got to come up with a solution that complies with the law, as Becky just read it back to us. We understand that. But that, I don't think that necessarily has to mean a divestiture. It does probably need a change of control.
I think what we're all trying to understand is just who's the prime mover in this, meaning is it the board? And if it's the board, what's different today than necessarily, I mean, I know what's different today compared to 2 weeks ago, which was there's a new president, but what the efforts were then versus now, what's the distinction? And if it's not the board, how much of it really is the Chinese government saying, you guys can't do this?
Well, speaking directly, Andrew, the problem has been we haven't had a negotiating partner in the U.S. government. We now do with President Trump and hopefully Secretary Bessent. We'll have somebody to work with to negotiate this issue to comply with law. We haven't been able to do that for a while. And so that's a significant change. And so, as I said, the board and management is ready to engage with the U.S. government, as soon as they're ready with their confirmed leaders. And the Chinese, I think, are ready to engage. But they see ByteDance as a private sector company where decisions should be controlled by the board and shareholders.